The South Carolina Supreme Court has just lifted a block that stopped our state from turning over the data of millions of voters to the federal government.
It's the latest update in legal fight over whether voters' sensitive information can be shared and what will be done to guard their privacy. State House reporter Mary Green has the details.
This started with a request from the U.S. Department of Justice for South Carolina and other states to hand over information from all their registered voters. That sparked a lawsuit to prevent that from happening, and now the state Supreme Court has stepped in.
I think that's what my client and the other voters I've heard from in South Carolina want, is they want to make sure that they're they want to guard against identity theft and all these other things you hear about. They just don't want all their information just out there on the internet.
Information the DOJ has requested includes the names, addresses, dates of birth, driver's license numbers, and last four digits of Social Security numbers of all 3.3 million registered voters in South Carolina. So far, the State Election Commission hasn't handed that over after back and forths over deadlines and what's legally permissible to disclose. Then a Calhoun County voter sued. A lower court judge issued an order blocking the state from handing over this information, and the governor got involved. He asked the state Supreme Court to overturn the lower court's order, which it did Thursday, while also tossing the plaintiff's request to subpoena the governor. The State Election Commission had previously told us it was working to get the DOJ this information while ensuring voters' privacy is protected. It hasn't indicated that's changed, but it hasn't immediately responded to the Supreme Court's order. A spokesman for Governor Henry McMaster had previously noted the federal government is already able to access all the information the DOJ is now seeking. Plaintiff attorney Brad Hutto, who's also a state senator, acknowledges this, but says it's the potential collection of this information altogether in some sort of database that's troubling.
If tomorrow the DOJ wrote SLED and said, give us a list of every concealed weapons permit holder, there would be a hue and cry that the federal government doesn't need to know who owns guns. And I can't imagine that a gun owner should have any more rights than a voter.
The lawsuit itself is still pending. The State Election Commission had previously asked for the county where it's heard to be changed to Richland County. The state Supreme Court says a decision on that should come within the next 10 days. Reporting Columbia, I'm Mary Green.
And just a few minutes ago, Governor Henry McMaster's office weighed in on today's ruling. His spokesperson says, quote, Governor McMaster has said all along that this case was improper. Today's ruling is a major victory for South Carolina, end quote. We'll be back right after this.